Hey everyone, it's Brittany here, and today I'm going to be making a video on something very personal and an experience I went through because I want to use it to maybe educate and help others so this doesn't happen to them. Today we're going to be talking about tampons. And first I'm going to go through my whole experience and what happened, and then I'm going to kind of inform you of things about this. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you all have probably seen the label in your tampon box if you are a female and you wear them. But it talks about toxic shock syndrome. Yes, so let's go ahead and move on through my experience to let you guys know how dangerous and how scary this infection is, and that it's real and it can happen because I went through it. So last month, I haven't made a video in quite some time because of this whole incident, and in the future I don't know how often I'm going to be making the videos as well because there's things that I'm trying to accomplish now in my life and things I've been wanting to do for a long time that I'm actually going to start doing. So I'll talk about that at the end as well. So to the story now, February 8th, 2013, this year, last month. It was Friday night. I started feeling really sick. I had 102 fever. I was shaking and cold, but like sweating at the same time. I had body aches all over all my muscles. I had a pounding headache along with everything else that was going on. And I'm kind of high tolerance to pain, so it was really weird that I was feeling that much pain, and it was so bad that I was crying from the pain I was feeling, and in my head and just everywhere. So my husband thought maybe I had the flu because I was having flu-like symptoms, and he ran out and got NyQuil, and I took that, and he had to go to work early that next morning on Saturday because he's a recruiter, so he had to drive out to pick up people to do like pulley events and stuff that they do on Saturdays. And so he goes and does that, and I was at home with my two girls. It was early in the morning, and I think it was around 8 o'clock. I actually woke up. I was in a lot of pain. I had this just throbbing pain right here, right below my chest, kind of in my ribs area in the middle. And it was hurting, and it was that along with the other symptoms I was having from last night. It was like it was progressively getting worse. And I felt horrible. And I knew at that point, like, I needed to get help. I was starting to be really uncomfortable, and I could feel that something was really wrong. And I called my husband and asked him if he could get back here as soon as possible because I needed to go to the ER. And he was pretty far away and couldn't get back as quick as I wanted to get there. And I have a friend, but my closest friend to here was 25 minutes away, so she wouldn't be able to get here quick enough either. So I called the hospital to ask them what I should do. I was having this pain, something was wrong. I didn't know what was going on, but there is no way I could have driven and gotten the two kids ready. I couldn't even barely walk out of the bed to open the door for when the paramedics got there. So they told me they can't give advice over the phone, so I called 911 and told them my symptoms and everything, and they sent somebody out here. And it was, I remember just when I was trying to talk, it was really hard to think. I felt like I was dying, and I didn't want to say that because that kind of sounds bizarre. And also, I don't want to sound way dramatic or anything like that. But I know I have a high tolerance to pain, and I know I knew something was seriously wrong. After the paramedics got here, there was just two of them. When I went to let them in, they said I was as pale as I was white as a ghost. and I looked like I was gonna pass out. So they told me to go lay down, and I went and laid down in my bed, and I was trying to explain to them where things were, and it was very hard to think and to communicate, and it was not normal. And so they got my youngest daughter, my 2-year-old, ready. They were so good that day. Like, they just sat there quiet, and Kylie helped show them where everything was. It was just the sweetest thing ever. And it took probably about 30 minutes for them to get everything ready and get me in the ambulance to actually leave the house, because it was just 2 of them. And so they had a car seat underneath the ambulance, and they used that for my daughter, and buckled Kylie in, and we went off and went to the hospital. And we got to the emergency room, and they're not supposed to have kids there, so my husband rushed as fast as he could to get there. He met us at the ER, and I was in a room, and I think they drew blood. I'm not quite sure. I know they had me do a urine analysis. It came back positive for having bacteria in it. It was also really dark, so I was really dehydrated. So they had me on fluids, and then since I was feeling that Saturday, I started feeling so nauseous that morning. They had given me 4 things of Zofran in the ambulance, and then given me 4 more at the emergency room. And then I was still having like the pounding headache and everything, so they gave me morphine. The morphine made me fall asleep for a little bit, and I woke up, and nobody was in the room when I woke up, because Jason had to take the girls home because they weren't supposed to be there. So I was sitting there, and I woke up, and I was sweating, and I remember seeing the breathing, and I was like, and I felt horrible. And the nurse ended up walking in there, and I told her, I was like, I don't feel good at all. And she said, it's probably just the fever leaving your body. And results back after that, and they ended up saying that I had a UTI, and that it could be gallstones because of that pain I was having. They sent me home with an antibiotic to help cure a UTI. And when I got in the car, my husband came to pick me up, and I was really confused at, like, what, a UTI? Like, I've had one before, and it was not like that. So he took me to the house, and I got in the bed, and from that afternoon, night to the next morning, I don't really remember much besides sleeping, taking medicine, and getting up to use the restroom. I was very incompetent, and I couldn't see. Everything was blurry. I was just like dizzy, and he woke up that Sunday morning on the 10th, took my temperature, and it was at 105 at that point. So we had to go straight back to the emergency room. And in my head, I was thinking, I just left here. Why am I going back? I couldn't talk. I was really disoriented. I just was so confused and everything. And I had to go back to the ER, and I was in a room again, and I had nurses and stuff all around me. And I just remember looking at me, and they're like, you don't feel good, do you? And after I started getting fluids and stuff again, is when I started becoming more not so disoriented. I started being able to talk and everything like that. When I got there, they had me check my mouth, and it was really red, and my tongue was really red. I had the strawberry tongue, and there was something else they called it, and I have no idea. I'm not sure. And my eyes started to get really, really red, circles around them. They put me on an antibiotic, and they had fluids like pumping into me really quickly because of how dehydrated I was. They did a CAT scan and an x-ray of my chest, and I had those done, came back to the room, and they wanted to do a spinal tap. And so we did a spinal tap or a lumbar puncture. They found my white blood cells were high, so they thought that it was meningitis. From the x-rays, they saw that my kidneys were really bad and my liver was really bad. Everything was about to shut down, and I was told by the doctor that I was lucky that my husband got me to the ER when he did, because everything was just going really bad in my body. My kidneys, my liver, my bilirubin, I guess. Something about my bilirubin wasn't good. My white blood cells were high. My blood pressure was low. What else? I think I had my blood taken because I had to keep, my platelets were really low too. So I had my blood taken probably like 10, 12 times while I was in the hospital. I ended up being in the hospital for 6 days. Both visits to the ER, I told them I was on my cycle and I told them I had a tampon in. They ran a culture. And when one of the doctors, I had 3 doctors around me at one point, and I said, let's go ahead and do a check for TSS just to be safe. Sure enough, while I was in the ER, I looked down at my hands and I was like, I'm getting a rash on my hands, and both hands, and then I think my husband or somebody was like, yeah, it's on your feet too. At that point, they knew that it was toxic shock, because you have to have all the symptoms to be able to have that. Once they found out what it was, they could really treat what I had. They kept trying to do things to figure out where the staph came from to make sure it was for sure from the tampon. On Monday, the rash spread to my entire body. I looked insane. I was really swollen from the fluids pumping into my body. My ring fit on my pinky, my wedding ring. And my eyelids started getting really crusty and they hurt, like my skin hurt from water to touch it. I couldn't eat anything pretty much, hardly, until the last couple days I was there. And the most I had, the last day I ate a grilled cheese and 2 chicken fingers and some fruit. It was really, really, really hard to eat because I would get nauseous. I remember one night, I tried to eat and I had a few bites, and when I would cough, I would always feel like I'm just gonna throw up. And when I tried to eat that day, I did, and it just kept coming out and kept coming out. And but the first night was the worst, from Sunday to Monday night. My husband stayed that night with me, but the rest of the week he had to go home and be home with the kids, so I was by myself at the hospital until I got out on that next Saturday. So I was there from the 10th to the 16th. It was crazy how fast things turned around once they found out what was going on and started treating me for that. That next day, my kidneys were already way better and my liver already looked better. And then by Tuesday, my kidneys and liver were at 100%. And everything kept gradually going up besides my platelets. They kept gradually going down while everything else was going up. So that was one of the reasons I was there for 6 days, and the other one was because I couldn't keep down food. I couldn't eat. And they kept having to, run tests and stuff like that. Well, the last few days, they ran up cultures again because they had lost the one from the ER, and they found the staph. They located it. It was from the tampon. The reason I'm telling you all this is because it can kill you very, very quickly. In a matter of 3 days, I could have been gone. And it all was from wearing one of these overnight. But when you read about toxic shock, it says that you start off with 102 fever or higher, and then 2 days later, your organs shut down. So I was having that 102 fever Friday, and then 2 days later on Sunday, that's when everything started to fail, because what happens is the tampons, there's bacteria around it, and well, we all carry staph in our body, and it can get on there and it can start to multiply and then get into your bloodstream and basically poison your bloodstream, and then it starts causing everything to shut down because it's all working too much. And then afterwards, my hands are so soft right now because the whole entire skin on the inside of both my hands, they peeled off. Now it's my feet doing it. Hey, I'll have soft hands and feet. That's one of a plus from it now, is that I'll have soft hands and feet. But this is just one of those things that's very rare. I read that TSS happens, but there's a lot of different ways of getting it other than just from a tampon. From a tampon use, it happens about to 2 different women a year. And I was one of those 2 women this year. It happened to me, and that it could happen to anyone. If you're gonna use a tampon, I really recommend to never using a super tampon ever, because that is the main thing is the high absorbency tampons. Wearing those and wearing them for an extended period of times. I read a story the other night about a girl who was 15 who had it, and she got it from wearing a tampon for 4 hours. I mean, it's just crazy. So just please be careful. And if you've had it before, you're very susceptible to getting it again within the next 6 months. And I also read that another thing that can happen afterwards is 2 to 3 months later, and I think even up to 6 months, you can lose some, if not all, of your hair and your nails, or your nails could get ridges on them. Which, if that happens, it happens. If I'm bald, you'll know why. I'm just really lucky to be alive and be here, so that would be, it'd be hard to go through something like to have that happen, but I'm here and I'm alive and I'm here with my family and my kids, and that's like the most important thing. And I just want you guys to know to be very careful with these. Not only can you get it from tampons, you can also get it from just having infections in your body. There is 2 different versions of toxic shock. There is the staph version, which is what I had, and then there is the strep version. Now, both have a really high fatality rate because most people don't know what's going on before it's too late. Not only is toxic shock associated with the prolonged use of high absorbency tampons, also menstrual sponges, diaphragms, cervical caps. They trap bacteria and cause an infection. There has been cases also reported following childbirth or trauma to down there. And it can also occur in men and women, and as a result of infections of wounds. So insect bites, burns, bones, surgical wounds, respiratory infections, and that is the strep TSS. It's crazy to think that I could have lost my life all because of this little thing. And this is, something that's hard to talk about, but I want to make it helpful and useful. I'm not sure when I'll be making videos and how often I'll be doing them after everything happened. I went in, I'd always wanted to go to aesthetic school because not only do I want to do makeup artistry, I also want to be a licensed esthetician. So I went to a school to visit it and ended up signing up for it that day. And so I start school next month, and I'm very, very excited. I'm pursuing my dreams of something I want to do. I got married at such a young age and had kids so quickly and everything. I haven't been able to focus on that, and now they're getting old enough where Kylie starts school this year, and they're both going to be in preschool while I'm in school, because it just takes 5 to 7 months, so it's fairly quick schooling. And I don't know how often I'm going to be making videos, because I have to, I do 30 hours a week, so it's 6 hours Monday through Friday. I'll be quite busy being in school full-time and being a mom and being a military wife as well. I will see you guys later. Bye.